change that you're aspiring to probably won't work out as optimally. So, and then there's another thing that I've come across that, and I've recognized in making this mask, I mean, making this model and using it on a daily basis. I look at this change model every day to guide my steps. Is that most people have to think about, when you think about commitment, because that buys you all the time in the world to reach your goals. If you stay the course, you have to also kind of combine that with persistence. And persistence is interesting, is that you never give up. And that's what it takes to do a mask for me, because Lord knows I thought about, making an excuse today because I hadn't been able to make the mask, but I was persistent. I had the skills, I had the resources, which was wood that was fell in my yard from my neighbor's yard during a storm. Um, all those six things were brought into bear when I basically that allowed me to make this mask that you'll be finding out about tonight. But the one thing about persistence, and I agree with this quote by Calvin Coolidge, that nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent won't do it. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men or women that with talent that are not successful. Genius won't do it. Unrewarded genius is pretty much a proverb. And the final thing, education won't do it. The world is full of educated people that are derelict, that really have not lived up to. And a lot of them can't make a mask either. And I tell you tonight that it's not for the faint of heart. And I call my masks blood masks because I haven't failed to make one yet. And I made over 250 where I have not bled. So I almost always can refer to stories where I hurt myself. A big hammer is unforgiving. And I don't know if you've ever hit your fingers with a hammer. Well, I'm gonna just tell you, it's not easy to get over. So I'm going to talk about part of my collection that I've come up with over the years, just a small sample of some of my collections. But before I do that, I'm going to say that most of the masks now, that if you go to Africa now, you pretty much have missed out in the last 40 years, because they're all in Europe, in America, and in other places, institutions. They're all gone. All the kind of antiques and tribal art has been taken away. So you're going to get a reproduction pretty much. You go. But most of my masks have come from, well, if you look at this map, it tells you that the most common places for mask making is in the West, or was in the Western, Eastern, and Central parts of what is the second largest continent. And that's a big place. That is a big place, and I know that in my collection, I'll never ever collect all the masks. I, I'm probably obsessed with masks because I look at them almost every day, of some kind of mask from somewhere. Um, so
Well, you look pretty.
I've gotten a lot.
Look, I love it. I think I like that better than when I see it.
Somebody's having a good time talking.
Yeah, we just.
But I've got a lot of my masks from Mali, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, or the Cote d'Ivoire, Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Tanzania, Zambia, and everywhere else. It's not, you're not going to find a whole lot of masks, but we all know that some of the early masks were made in Egypt, and Kenya. And Kenya still makes a lot of masks, and less to a lesser extent, and now Ethiopia and Somalia, those places, they don't put out a lot of masks. So I just wanted to show a couple of ceremonies because, like I said, the mask that you see on the face just covers one part of the body, and here you can see the bois ceremony in Burkina Faso, where you can see these huge masks cover the face, but you have this other material covering the bottom part of their body. And then here's another one. This is a Bobo dancer from Burkina Faso as well. Okay, so I'm gonna share with some of my masks. So this is a Bete travel mask from Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, whichever you want to, whichever name you want to use. Okay. This is a Salampuso mask from the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a Nigerian mask, a Igbo mask. This is Bamoon mask, one of my favorite masks because it represents to me the village because it has over top of the head 144 little masks that you can see. Very interesting to me. This is one of my larger masks too. It's called a Great Molo mask. It was made about 1970, and it actually is buried at some point before it goes back to the village to be painted and finalized. This is also a Mwanapo mask from the Chokwe people from probably Zambia, could possibly be from a number of countries because masks know no boundaries. People move around and take masks, but this is probably from the Democratic Republic of Congo or its neighboring Angola. This is a initiation mask, and that's one thing I found in common all the countries that I've studied, and pretty much I've taught geography of Africa, so I've pretty much looked at all the countries, but one thing in common is they have rites of passage. Kids had to learn how to be members of their tribes, and this is a common theme throughout Africa. This is you kind of see how things get started, change gets started. You got a piece of wood, so like I said, to manage that change, you pretty much have to see it, a vision. And you can see here, this is a piece of black walnut, a beautiful piece of wood. This is what happens. It's the wood that's behind the tree is behind the mask. It's leaning on the mask is leaning on the tree, but I actually made one out of the piece of wood that's on top of that log as well. This is a mask that was made. This is a piece of red cedar that I got out of Durham. It may have come from Kenny Chavis's backyard. I don't know.
I believe it did.
But it
After Hurricane Fran.
yeah. So that's the way people would give me wood everywhere I've gone, and it got to be problematic at some point. But this was a mask that I actually donated to the Penn Center on St. Helena Island in South Carolina. I don't know if they still have it or not. So this is what I call an Angola holy man. There was a piece of black walnut that I had laying around. I decided to paint it. This is the Thomas Floyd Shanklin mask because he was the head of our household, and it's the only helmet mask that I've ever made. But I have it on today just for you because it really hasn't been displayed. Only one time I think that I take it somewhere to display it. So that one. This is one I made last year called a warthog mask. I don't know some of the names of some of the for this presentation. All of my masks have African names, so I just don't know it right now. This one is called Queen of Darfur, which I made when there was this genocide going on in Darfur, and I felt like I needed to. This was an outlet for me to make this mask. I call this mask the elder. You can see the elders over top of the help guiding the decisions of the maybe the king or the person in charge of a village. This is my Kwanzaa mask. I really like it because it has my son's dreadlocks on it and a lot of travel bells on it, probably about 30 or 40 bells that came from Africa. So, and it also suggests the village being there's three heads over top of the mask. And this is the grand oval of Hillsborough, Mass. I made it because the wind blew over, hurricane blew over this this hickory tree in my grandmother's yard, and I said, well, retribution will be the fact that now I'm getting beat up on this wood because she got a couple of hickory switches off of it doing my upbringing. Said, okay, I got you now. Anyway, that's that mask. And this is I don't know what we call it. Sometimes we call it Jesus because it's kind of reverent, divine seer, if you will. You may have your own because my sister has a name for all my masks that I don't know where she gets them from, but it's very interesting to hear them. This was a memorial to my brother Bill, who passed away in 2008. He got a chance to see it, and he gave me 2 thumbs up on it, so I was happy with that. This mask I made for a friend of mine who has a restaurant in Atlanta called the Sweet George's Juke Joint. So he claims that it's on display at the Juke Joint. So if you ever get down to Atlanta, go and see and let me know. This mask I made in honor of Chadwick Boseman. I was kind of hurt that he passed away, and you can see on the forehead the W is Wakanda, and you can see the Black Panther in the middle of the W, kind of make that. And I thought he was much more than one individual. He was multi-talented, and that's why he has the three faces. This is when I work everywhere making masks. So this is one time when I was just making probably one of those masks that you've seen, because one of those pieces look like black walnut. So I work everywhere. I've never had a workshop, so you see me out in the yard or wherever it might be. So the mask that you're going to see be introduced to tonight, that I made for this study group, this is the way it looked when I found it. It like I said, it fell over in my yard, and I had no idea that it was going to be so difficult to carve because it had all kinds of bugs in it, and it is probably why it was rotten, and this is probably why it fell over. But once you take the bark off, you see all of these bugs and how they kind of permeated the wood, and as you're carving, they're moving further into the wood. So it's really crazy, and like I said, best laid plans. One of the things in the managing change model is the action plan, because I already had the vision of a mask. I had vision of, in this case, making a mask that actually had horns on it. So because the tree kind of lended itself, and you can see in the bottom left-hand side how it kind of lended itself to a horn. So I thought I was going to have horns in this mask. So that didn't happen. So with any plan, you have to adjust it. So if you could look closely, and you can see little holes in this mask and a rotten part that goes down the center of the tree, that caused me problems. So that dark piece that you see at the top center of the mask, that ended up going all the way down through the wood, and it cost me the nose and the horns had to go. I hated that, but what can you do? You got to improvise, right? So if you have a comprehensive plan, you have to tweak it sometimes. So as you can see, it changes. It changed quite a bit. From having those horns, you can see one at the top right, one horn had gone because all the rotten behind it, and then you can just see there was horns at this point in the mask. But the bottom right part of the slide shows when at the end of me making most of the mask, I had to put a top on the back because I had to clean out all that rotten wood, which I hadn't intended to do. So what you're going to see at the end is that you're going to see me take some weaving and weave across that frame that I made, and I use dogwood. I skinned the dogwood trees in my yard. I found some dogwood trees young, and you skin those, and then that gives you the raffia that you use for your mask. You skin that, and then you stain the raffia after you've done it. So that's kind of interesting. You can see probably in the background here some leaves of that dogwood tree that's on the floor. So I try to make the mask as traditionally as I can. I just use for the most part, a chisel and a big hammer and and any natural materials that might be around. So you can see here's the mask that I made for you guys today.
Wow.
It is what it is because it was hard. It was hard to come up with this mask, and but it's a celebratory mask, and we can celebrate today. It has a lot of bells on it. Underneath the covering on the top are bells, and you can see that the dogwood raffia that's sticking out from the beard, and it's also sticking out his hair on the top. And in the back, you can see that I can wear this mask. And that's the netting that you saw that allows me to stick it onto my head. And there's also a crossbar in most African masks, original ones anyway, where you have to bite in with your teeth. That if you can see the ropes that tie around my head, that and the teeth and the bar for the teeth allows you to really rock and roll. You're just wondering how in the world can that mask stay on? Well, that's how it is in most of the masks that are heavy like that. And this mask is heavier than you might think. But I look forward to sharing it with you sometime when maybe we meet again.
Great.
Right. So this is actually let's see if this plays. That's it won't move, but I had it on
Yeah.
so that y'all can see me doing a jig.
Yeah. What are you gonna call it, Gerald? What's the name of the map?
It's Ofufo mask, which means the resurrection, because it was a dead tree for sure.
Oh, okay.
And if I'd known it was in that bad a shape, I probably would have chosen something else to carve. So, but anyway, that's the end of my presentation. That kind of, oh, wait a minute, I'm told I got one more slide here. Let's see. Oh,
Oh, closer shot.
closer shot.
Yeah.
That scared me.
That's great.
But you can see it's a heavy dose of stain on there right now, and so it's not a finished product. Matter of fact, most of my masks, as long as they stay with me, they really are changing, and so it will probably sand it down more as I move forward with it. So I'm here at the end, and I'd like to
Wow.
open it up for any questions anybody has or any comments. So that's it.
Wow. Great presentation, man. Appreciate it.
So I looked forward to seeing or knowing that you guys might want to try that one day.
Wow. Complex.
It's more than a notion. It's more than a notion.
Beverly Scarlett has her hand up, Gerald.
Okay, hi, Beverly.
Hi, first off, thank you so much for honoring us with your act of making a mask for this presentation. That is truly an honor. And my question is, how many work hours did you put into that one mask?
When I had a little bit more time than I have now, I'm actually doing a house renovation project. So I do it when I get a chance. I walk around it, and if I have a moment, I will work on it. But as I mentioned, I'm committed to making it. If I start it, I'm committed to finishing, and that's why I want to also emphasize persistence, because that's really important that you just persist and do as much as you can when you can. But to try to say how many hours, goodness gracious, I made one over a weekend. But that one, if I had nothing else to do, I probably could do that in probably a weekend or maybe 2 weekends if I had nothing else to do. I'll never be as good as the African artisans that I shared with you, the masks that they made, and I know that, and I don't even try to replicate those because they're sacred in my mind. And I just wanted to, all I do is try to honor the African mask making tradition. The only mask we knew when we got here was those iron masks that they put on our faces to keep us from singing and chanting uh, and in some cases eating, because they thought that by speaking you might spur on an insurrection or something. So Dr. Parker might can even speak on that more, but those iron masks that they put on us as slaves to control us were no joke. But uh, I do want you to, I hope most of you own a mask of some kind, because in doing so, you find out about that culture. Like I said, the rites of passage that are reflected in most of these masks. And also, they didn't have photographs, so they made a commissioned a picture of their relatives or the king or the queen. But I would not be making masks in those settings, because you'd have to go through an apprenticeship or an anointing to be able to make royal masks or masks of that type. I mean, somebody like me would just be, you know, kind of, have to keep it to myself, and I wouldn't be allowed to make those for the tribe.
Horace and Sandra have their hands up. I don't know who first.
Well, I tried to make that particular master look as much like Horace Johnson as I could. So I don't know.
It's pretty close.
Jay, just let me say this. As a grown man, I know men aren't supposed to get emotional, but this presentation really stirred my emotions because, you and I and KC, we we were those masks growing up as kids, and no one could have ever told me that I would be looking at something like this with James Baldwin's attention brought to it because of the pure beauty and power that you have created from your own hands and your own mindset. So I want to thank you. And I really hope that we can put something together and have a showing and invite over in the African-American neighborhood, Fairview, and just display your artwork and let people come through and just take a look at that brilliance you have, bro. Because I would have never seen. I'm extremely proud of you, and I'm just happy to be able to see it at this point, man. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate that, Mark. But I used to take them to school because I wanted to say to kids, because I would take just a raw piece of log and some of the masks that I made, and I would say, look, you just like this log over here is nothing, you're nondescript. There's nothing that great about you, but you can be anything you want to do if you work hard and if you follow, these 6 things I'm talking about. You got to see yourself somewhere. You got to get the skills by staying in school. You got to get the resources. You got to have incentives to do something. You got, all those things came to me after sitting, careful reflection about how do we change this thing? So, and then, you hear about Martin Luther King's dream. We've been dreaming for a while, but sometimes we dream, but we don't have some of those other things in place. So it just has helped me that way. And I hope that you'll just use that model. I'll be happy to send it to anybody because to me, it helps me out quite a bit.
Sandra?
First of all, I just want to say this is beautiful. It's just spectacular and very moving. In the fact that you've been doing this for so many years, and your passion is clear, and talent clearly shows through. And thank you for sharing it with us, and the mask that you developed made just for this presentation. Just incredible talent. I mean, you said you would offer to help. I could never do anything like that. It is just incredible talent. So congratulations on amassing all of this history. And I think, like Horace said, it needs to be somehow displayed. You mentioned having masks from different parts of the world. I have a mask from Malaysia and one from Japan. And, clearly there is that culture and tradition in many different countries. but I never understood it like this until your presentation tonight. So my question is how many masks do you actually have, and where do you keep them? Because I mean, after a certain point, something like this begins to take over your life and your home. And at some point you have to say, where am I going to put this stuff? Because the masks you have got to be extraordinarily valuable, because you've collected them from a period of time when people weren't collecting things like this on the scale that you have.
Well, I do. My wife is telling me, but she got me out of the garage when I used to make them in or near the garage. So I realized that I did ended up selling probably most of the 250 that I made. So I don't know where they are now, but I do
I
currently.
have one.
I
Do
have.
you still sell them?
Yeah, yes, I can't keep them as you say. But I donated, like you said, I donated to Penn Center and a lot of nonprofits for them to auction off. That's my preferable way a lot of times to move them, because it gives back and it helps people to raise funds for their important work. So matter of fact, I hope that maybe this one can go into a new center for culture in Orange County. I would love to see some kind of center for the study and of the African diaspora and culture, and something in Orange County, because I know there's one here in Burlington that they have been trying to get me to donate my time to, but I'd rather do something in Orange County. So I'm putting that out there. So y'all, I really would. I have probably about 20 masks that I made that I can display somewhere that are around here in where I am now in Burlington.
See Courtney raising her hand at the
Okay.
museum there.
Okay. Okay.
I have your email address now. I'm sure I can get a phone number. We would love to display this, and I'd love to talk with you about it, exhibit, opening, everything. We could work it out if you're up for it. I'm thinking the month of January, if that's something you'd be interested in. Our space is incredibly limited here. We're actually doing an exhibit right now about collectors and collecting. I would love for you to do this PowerPoint to again, if you're up for it. So I'll be in touch if that's okay.
Well, that's one of the ways. That matter of fact, Dr. Parker and his family came up to Richmond to see an exhibit that I had there. I actually had about 30 displayed there, and I think this was around, I'm not sure when it was, but then they called me back to do it again, and they kept my exhibit up for 2 months. And then so I've exhibited a lot of places to that where people could come. I did a lot at Art-O-Matic. They've had about 5 in Washington D.C. where I exhibited a lot there too. But and that's where a lot of them get sold. People see it and they buy them. And so, but the thing is now, I'm pretty much willing to and more likely to donate to a nonprofit than really trying to make them for sale. It's too much work to do for. I just wouldn't do it for that. I'd rather wanted to make it have a broader impact. So
we would just love to showcase your work. And I was thinking about it, all the negative connotations with masks right now, right? Wouldn't it be so wonderful to celebrate everything that is creative and exciting and important, culturally? And we would love to, I'd love to talk to you about, a 3-week, 4-week exhibit here at the museum, and then give the community a chance to come see these incredible pieces of art that you've created.
Well, Horace brought up something that it's like I said, we kind of grew up in a place where in Hillsborough where we just had to run of the community. We just used our imaginations to build stuff around, and it was just a great time to really think back on that when I think about those guys and those times all the time. But yeah, to to maybe do something in Hillsborough. I actually early on, I think I brought some to the library in Hillsborough. Isn't it a library attached to the what used to be Orange Junior High?
Yeah, yeah. That's where the old library was.
Okay, so I actually did I think I brought about 7 or 8 masks there way back.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
Brenda Stevens was the library director.
okay.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of doing things, locally and especially in Hillsborough, because a lot of the wood came from there. Like one of those black walnut trees came from Bobby Mayo's property on the Eno River. He didn't want the tree. And some of y'all may not know that a fully mature black walnut tree can command up to $15,000 if you sold the wood. So it's hard to come by. But sometimes people give it to me and I will take it and run with it.
So it looks like an exhibit coming up in January. Sounds like. I look forward to seeing it.
Hey, look, I have a vision here. We can put together a shared vision and see what happens.
I actually have to run in a couple of minutes. I didn't want to be rude, but I'll follow up with you. I'm going to mute myself and listen for a little bit, but I'll definitely follow up with you. Thank you so much.
All right, appreciate it.
Casey had a question, and then Beverly.
I do. I'm the fortunate owner of one of your creations.
Okay.
I think it was the one that you made for Sabrina, in honor of Sabrina. You remember that?
Well, all of them are made in honor of her, but I think the one that was made especially for you and your family was one from the tree. That's probably that same tree in your backyard that fell over for something.
It might have been. It might have been, but I'm the lucky owner of one of those, and I would love to see what Courtney was talking about.
Okay.
That you be displayed and people know, because a whole lot of people don't know. I've known for a long time. I remember when your wife kicked you out of the garage.
Okay.
So I went through there. It was dusty. So I remember all of that stuff, and just to reiterate to everybody, where we grew up was special. That neighborhood was really, really special. And it made us who we are. And it goes back to the saying that we had the village. The village to raise a child. We had that. And that's almost non-existent today. So, but anyway, keep on keeping on, bro. Keep on keeping on. And I hope you get all of the acknowledgement that you should.
Thank you.
Because you are very, very talented, but you always have been. You remember you used to draw.
Yeah. Thank
back in the day, you was an artist back then, but you were drawing.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
The right-handed man drawing with the left hand. He was right-handed, but when he wrote and drew and stuff, he did it with his left hand.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure that one out. But anyway, somebody else has a question, so I'm done.
Beverly Payne.
Gerald Shanklin, I just want to say, you never cease to amaze me. This is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And you do have the talent that you say that you don't have. You actually have that talent. And I'm proud to know you.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, like I tell the kids, everybody got talent. Everybody got, needs to explore, create a vision for themselves and move from there. And, you got to go to school. I didn't have any training for that, but I developed the skills by the School of Hard Knocks, just kept on trying, persistent. And I think you and Judge Scarlett and Miss Wilson, we'll make a mass, we'll make one. We'll do it. I have a dream.
Gerald, anytime you want to, I'll clear my calendar. But I also wanted to say that I'm on the board for the museum.
Mm.
And so we would be glad to display your and promote. And also, the Alliance is part of, actually helps other, what do I want to say, Courtney, what's the word? Courtney has left the building. Other
Agencies, aspiring artists.
places like the museum and the Burwell School and the Colonial Inn, they help
Resources.
promote that. And so therefore, I am sure the Alliance will, I saw Annie is on, so I'm sure the Alliance would be able to help with that. And the Alliance also has a place for displaying. So this is fantastic. In fact, it's on a scale of greatness, I think. And I just want to thank you for doing this tonight.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well, like I said, it's you guys are responsible for it. But I think, the thing that people always need that are trying to do something, whether it be making a mask or anything else, is to, I don't care who it is or how good or bad they are, always offer encouragement. I think that really helps. I know it has helped me to, over the years, people, like I said, when that first article came out, that was enough encouragement, for at least for me to think about doing other things. And it has also served for me as a place to go when you encounter a lot of stress. You can beat on that wood, and it takes you to a place of peace. And I would say everybody should have some kind of hobby or a place that they can go when, because it's a stressful world we live in. It's really hard to see. We're watching the news and everything that we've been through since COVID and before. Living in America is it's not for the faint of heart. So then we got to encourage each other to do things. Horace? Beverly? Got your hands
Yeah,
up?
I was about to say it. I'm gonna let Cuz you want to go first? Or I can go. Just
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'll just be quick. I just wanted to make sure that you saw my comment in the chat, because I'm serious. I either want to purchase personally or through my nonprofit. I do have a nonprofit. I can give you a tax exempt gift letter, because right now most of my collection is Native American, but that's only a portion of my history and my genetics, and I don't have any art from African American other than my writing. So I would love to have it for my budding museum. That's my house. I live alone, so I don't have to worry about anybody throwing me out, so I can just hang things anywhere I want it.
Well, I think I really encourage people to buy things that represent where they came from, and try to make those connections, and the history of that kind of history is really has been important to me. So yeah. Horace?
I was thinking, in the tradition of Mars Hill, where you and Casey were raised, that hill was settled by builders, much like yourself, brick masons, stone masons. They were responsible for building a lot of things down there in Hillsborough, and that cemetery behind the water building has been dedicated to them. I'm curious, Dr. Parker, with you and the other gentleman over on Orange Grove Road, about whether we could set up something for Shank to do, set up a display at Central Gymnasium. And also, Shank, just something really weird came out. I would spend my money to set up the backyard where the goal is, with tents and tables, for you to bring that art over, and we publicize it, Facebook, social media, and have people just drive through our neighborhood and see your artwork and see that you're a product of Mars Hill. And
It's a great idea.
Invigorate.
Yes.
It's really a great idea.
I'm just stunned beyond the words, Shanka. Because
Yeah.
you was Black Panther in the neighborhood. Remember, I told everybody that. If anybody wanted to purchase anything from Mr. Shanklin, much like I am for Dr. Parker, see my email address. I'll be glad to step in for you, Shank.
Thank you.
Yeah, indeed.
Gerald, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your beautiful mask. And I'm obviously with the Alliance, is Danny. And I'm gonna add on to what Horace said and what Courtney said and what Beverly said. And you know, whoever displays your mask, the Alliance is happy to help promote and arrange or whatever, even if it's kind of you've got some all around town or it's a traveling exhibit or what have you, or but your stuff is just so moving and powerful, and I just hope that everyone else I'm sorry, my dog also really appreciated your mask. He's trying to tell you that. But I just, you know, thank you for sharing that with us this evening, and I'm excited for Hillsborough to see your incredible talent.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Sandra.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to take you up on your offer to make a mask. I'm sure I could display it in front of my house and scare away people, because that would be about as much talent as I'd be able to put it in. But I really would like to take you up on that offer. And also, how do you go about purchasing your mask? Or do you come to your house or email you or what?
You can do both. You know, I don't mind you coming. And it's sort of like kind of it was like my house here in Chesapeake. It's like going to a museum. You know, I really just love the work that, and you know, I just, or email me any way you want to contact me is fine. It really is.
Thank you.
Brandy?
Gerald, thank you so much for sharing this. This was really refreshing. Just like you said, this is a very stressful world, and this was a really nice presentation to sit through. One of the things I thought about, you said that you were interested in donating to a nonprofit. I don't know if anyone on here has ever heard of Bump the Triangle. That's an organization. I just came off their board, but they are focused on empowering kids, like building up leadership skills in youth through the use of African diasporic arts and culture. A lot of it's focused on music, but they've just started to get involved with the visual arts as well. And they do an auction every year where they have local artists donate artwork, and that's one of the ways they raise money. And the executive director is a fellow Eagle. Her name is Joy Harrell Golf. But if you Google Bump the Triangle, it will come up, and it might be an organization that you would have a good relationship with.
Say Bump the
Triangle, like BUMP and then the triangle.
Thank you. I have to check that out. And I'm just kind of getting my feet wet with all this going on, and it's really refreshing to come back to, you know, so much activities that people are going on in the community. It's a very positive thing, and it really is needed. There's so much that people are doing that's refreshing to make things better. You know, we got to work with kids for sure, because you know, I try to, you know, tell kids, for example, you don't want, if you get put out of school or you go to jail, you know, that's taking resources off the table. You know, you taking resources off the table. It might be a job, might be, you know, other things, but you need those resources, right, to change
Amen.
yourself into what you want to be. So it's really important to talk to them and try to get them to look at the bigger picture. And that's why I say create a vision. I always try to get my kids to do a plan. I don't think they ever did, but I tried. But I think I showed them how to work. That's one thing my father showed me, that you want to be around here, you're gonna have to work. And I think we have to work in the community too, like some of you are doing, and that's really important. And I'm so great to hear that this is going on, and I trying to get myself involved in a lot of this since I have a little bit more time. Time matters, and so I want to make it count, right? So that I'm here, try to get and do some things to support what you guys are doing. So much going on. Great.
Beverly Payne, I think your hands raised again.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Sandra said about taking a class that or something. And Gerald, you know how when we were growing up, we went to recreation. So maybe the Orange County Rec Department could sponsor somewhere where we could try to make masks.
Well, the only thing I'd say to that is, it's as you heard probably or remember me saying that every time I do it, I get hurt. So I would hate to somebody to get hurt. So that would be the thing that would stop me from doing that, because you got very sharp instruments that you have to hit that wood with, and that's the part. But as far as I mean, there's other things that can be done that will be a lot more user friendly than masks. So, because I know a friend of ours, her classmate Gina McAdoo, wanted me to come out and help her, show her how to make a mask. And I said to myself, I don't think she understands what she's asking, because, like I said, perseverance, commitment, all that has to happen. I know my brother Bill, he could not do it. He just couldn't. He just couldn't stay the course, and he would get frustrated. So I just want to let you know what you're into. Sometimes when you ask for something, just understand that it's not easy. It's not really
better than the rec department. We have 2 artists, art committees, or what is it? The Orange County Arts something. Anyway, one of them is in the Cone Mill building.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's where we could really do it.
Yeah, because I've seen people in
He still want to do it. Beverly still wants to do it.
Okay.
So
blood.
She wants
I'll sign a non-disclosure, you're not responsible for me harming myself with tools.
So Gerald,
waiver of liability.
You have to remember, Beverly is a cowgirl. She rode horses, okay? She's ready.
I put up barbed wire fences.
Okay.
I used to be too.
So my comment is, how much would the liability insurance be? Because I'm a financial minded person. No, I'm just not to throw a monkey wrench in the works. But Orange County Parks and Recreation would need to know that if you wanted to go that route. So, and I'm just speaking practically. This is the way the world works now. Any place that you would want to do that, they're going to want to make sure that you have protections. It could be signing a waiver, like Sandra said, or whatever, but you have to have that in place if there's a potential for somebody to get injured.
That's why I think. That's why
I'm sorry to be gloom and doom, but I mean, it's real.
It's true.
Whenever you do it in an organized way like that, then I can see that would have to be done. But if Gerald is willing to take Beverly and Sandra and Brandy and say, okay, we just want to go out to Beverly's place and find, we go to Beverly Scarlett's farm and plantation out there. we can definitely.
I like farm.
You can do that.
Ponderosa, but we can definitely, we can definitely find some trees.
Tree.
No, just
I
for
can see
future
doing that,
reference,
but once it becomes an organized thing, then we have to.
yeah. Well, I was going to say for future reference, I mean, we're all getting older, but that Dot Johnson Community Center, once it's up and running for kids and young adults,
yeah,
I'm sure you could get a class or once a week where they come in and learn the trade just watching.
Just
like
watching
KC
without
said,
participating.
Yeah, like Casey said, it's a dangerous, chisels, hammers, and losing fingers is not part of the process. You just want to teach them what to do, Just a thought for the future.
Well, you all are welcome to come out if you would like to take the class out here where I live. And Gerald, I have never viewed a tree the same way from the first time you brought those masks to Radius Pizza. I was out strolling through the woods last week, and I remember telling you about the loggers leaving so much wood. I got to that pile and I thought, how many masks could he get out of this? Because, for me, it's waste and it just drives me crazy. Yeah. But I have never viewed a tree the same way. Now, I don't have the vision to make a mask. I will tell you that. I'm willing to try, but I can't draw. So that says a whole lot. I might have an eye up here and one down there. I can't draw. Now I do other things creatively, but I can't draw, but I'm happy to participate in the process. I can sand. I know how to sand and buff. I can do that.
Here's the thing. You should not be deterred by something that you want to do. I mean, I'm saying that I'm talking on both sides of my mouth because I'm one of these people, like I said, I'm the little engine that could. Man, that's what you see, with a piece of wood like you pass by in the woods, and if it's been there for a while, I'm just going to tell you based on my experience with this mask that you weren't going to leave it alone, but you want to. One of the differences between me and African artisans, they know exactly what tree to cut, when to cut it, how to cut it, and that's something that I haven't graduated to. I just if you gave me a log, I'm gonna make me a mask if I set my mind onto it, and so no matter what, no matter what it turns out like, I really don't care what anybody thinks about it. It's just for me, and that's what I would encourage you to do. If you want to, it doesn't have to look like, it might be, Picasso's work to me kind of looked like what you described, some of them eyes up here.
Well, that is true. I had thought that way.
It would be for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
And it would be.
That is a lesson for me because I'm one when I do needlework, I'm constantly pulling it out, redoing it again, and because I have this thing where I think it should be as close to perfect as it can be, but your argument is right. What is perfection? And art, for sure, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's work I can do for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually will show you the first one I made, or the second one. I still have it. It doesn't look like a whole lot. I mean, to me, I say, well, what was I thinking? I mean, but I guess to some people, every mask I make, people ask them the same question: what was he thinking? So you just have to go on with what you do, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to. People have suggested that I open up a what do you call it, a workshop.
Yes,
I'm not really wanting to put myself in that kind of position of having to do something. So in your leisure, what I would do though, if we come out to the farm, come out to your house, I'll basically kind of, like I tried to do here this afternoon, to show you kind of how it kind of goes. You see that wood, you got to just dig into that thing and, know where your eyes are going to be. You have some things you have to plan in advance. Like in my case with this mask, I tried to do horns. It didn't work out. My wife says that horns are demonic. So she kind of, she didn't like it anyway, but I was going for horns and it didn't work out. So I had to change up. But that was the only reason. And she'll tell you that, you know, I always ask for just to see what people would say in terms of input. But
And then he tells me it's what I'm doing.
I said, you know, I'm the CEO here, right? And that's what I said. It's my business, right? I have to make the decisions. And
I'm like, why'd you ask?
And that's what I tell kids, you know, look, you're the CEO of your own life and your own business, right? So you got to make good decisions. And nobody else can make those for you. Really, at the end of the day, you got to make your own decision. So that's where I am with my mask. I sometimes will ask kids what they thought, blah, blah, blah. But at the end, I have to make the decision. And it's my work at the end of the day, right? So nobody can complain. So I would encourage you to think about making a mask.
Okay.
You kind of seen the 6 things I talked about. You envision it, number one.
Yes. Yes.
And so if you want to get the skills, I can help you with that. But you have to also, you can go online and see some evidence of people who make masks, but I'm the only one that I know that makes masks around here. I've looked hard and low to try to find somebody else to do what we did as for millennia in the country that we came from. And all the rewards that those masks and the part it played in the culture is so, to me, so inspiring to know about and appreciate. Like those rites of passage programs that I know KC was involved in. Some very important. Very helpful. So those things are very important. And we've done that for millennia. I mean, our tribes are pretty much, as I said, that's one common theme in my research is that everybody did that, pretty much. So something that we forgot and don't realize how important it is.
Each one teaches
not only that, I'm sorry. Not only that, but you know, it's people who don't know other people and we're doing the same things, which should say to us, people are people, you know, we're not really different. We just come in different colors of the rainbow to make a beautiful bouquet. But for some reason, we can't wrap our heads around that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to do more. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in some kind of cultural center or something where you can not only talk about, say, culture and mask or whatever, art, but we need to talk about, like KC was talking about, financial literacy and so many other things that we can bring to the table, politics, no matter what. I think the more we get together on those fronts, the better we're going to be. And just talk through things, because now, you know, our educational system is kind of going kind of haywire and going, stuff is happening out here that I know I need to bounce things off of people all the time to say, did they really say that or mean that, or, you know, what does this mean? So it's crazy out here.
They're trying to take Freddie's job from him. They can't teach African American history no more.
Yeah.
That's why we got Zoom, KC.
I know.
I'm gonna keep showing up to class. He called a class, I'm there.
Well, I really appreciate
this. DeSantis, right?
I really appreciate this opportunity, and I've learned so much from you guys since I've been on these calls. I certainly appreciate auditing your class about history, because it was kept from me like it was kept from so many of us. You know, a lot to learn, and you never stop learning. That's one thing I know.
Exactly right. Well, are there any other questions for Gerald or anything else anybody want to put on the table?
Well, just one more thing. You know, I'm radicalized. It's like Mr. Shanklin said, we've been talking for a long time. And what has it really gotten us? We're going backwards. Not saying this violence is necessary, but we've really got to knuckle up and just be prepared to do the things that will keep our society, our culture intact. Because if you look at Hillsborough, we need to identify a place before it just disappears, our culture in this town. It's disappearing right in front of our eyes.
Well, whenever I go downtown, I go by, and some of you have been on the Riverwalk to see the little plaque where my family was. You've seen that plaque when I'm sitting up there. You would never know that there were Black folks, and I'm listening to people all the time as I do that people that used to live down there that I didn't even know about. So it's history.
And all that remains is a plaque. Exactly.
Yeah, all the plaque.
So they could make, look, so they could make a park and put a plaque up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to be doing this again in 3 weeks, and the person who's up is Beverly Payne. I'm going to ask you, though, I think I mentioned to you all that I was saddled with teaching a course on Thursday evenings starting August 15th. So we're scheduled August 17th. We're scheduled to present, Beverly's scheduled to present on August 17th. That's on a Thursday evening. So I'm going to ask if we can do it on the 15th rather than 17th.
Tuesday?
On that Tuesday.
Are you teaching at Central, Dr. Parker?
Yes.
Which course are you teaching?
I'm doing History 5000. You know, Dr. Frazier is off to Penn State. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, we gave him a big luncheon a few weeks ago. He's already at Penn State. He's in the history department. His wife is in psychology. So he was scheduled to teach History 5000. So
I need a new thesis committee person.
Okay. Okay, you didn't know. Whoa, wow. We definitely got to get you a new person then. Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Who's your director? Dr. Johnson, right?
I asked Dr. Frazier to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess now, yeah. I guess I will ask Dr. Johnson if he'll do it, even though I'm not public history.
Well, you know, and
Yeah.
in public history. Yeah. Dr. Johnson's now the chair of the department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if he will assign somebody to you, but you'll have somebody. We'll take care of it.
Okay.
About that. No question about that at all. Yeah.
Brandy, what are you? Do you mind sharing what your thesis is going to be on?
For now, until someone steers me in a different direction, I was very interested in understanding the history of Person County, especially, or I guess focused on the what white supremacy has done to that town or to that county, and then Roxborough as the county seat. And so it started when I watched I don't know if anybody's watched that Brian Stevenson, I think it's called True Justice. I don't know if anybody saw that documentary that he did where he talks about, he's part of the EJI, the Equal Justice Initiative. That's his organization where he's done a lot of research and puts out a lot of history about the lynchings that took place in this country. And so I watched that, and I was sitting there and I was like, you know what, I don't even know about my county. Like if my county would have, because every county, he's made a marker for every county in the US that had a lynching. And so I was like, I wonder if Person County even has one. And so when I looked it up and I found out there had been a lynching in Person County, and then that just kind of made me go, okay, what else is in this county that I don't even know about? Like I didn't know that happened. I mean, and you can definitely see the effects of racism even today throughout the county. You can see its marks, but I just wanted to take a look at, like, starting from the beginning. It's named after a slaveholder, Thomas Person. I wanted to try to figure out which Native Americans had occupied that land before the white settlers came in. So I haven't quite gotten that piece. I think it's the Saponi tribe, because we have at the Person County Museum of History, we have a lot of information on that, but I didn't know if there might be more that I need to be looking at. But then just following it all the way through. So I looked at kind of give like a brief history of Person County, and then looking at how the Confederate monuments came to be on the courthouse lawn, the KKK's involvement in that community, the lynching that took place, then an attempted lynching that took place. And then following it all the way up to, like, you know, even after Brown versus Board of Education, when the Person County Board of Education was sued for not integrating, and just really trying to put this, you know, story and timeline together that will, you know, show, will be able to tell the story of that county so that it can't be denied. And when you look at the county and how it's laid out, you'll understand why. And you'll know about the racial covenants that restricted, you know, Black people from living in certain areas. And so you'll start to see the county for what it is. And I thought that, you know, probably not a good motivator, but Dr. Parker, please don't hold it against me. You know, a lot of the people I was aiming this story at would be people who would resist hearing this kind of history. And so I thought the more personal, the more names, the family names that I use, the more interested they might be to see, you know, what I'm saying about their great grandfather or, you know, something like that. And so it might interest people enough to read it, and then hopefully they actually learn something from it. And that might cause some change. I don't know. But that's where I just wanted to write a really complete history of the county.
And we
sorry, that was long.
We're praying every day for Brandy as she
Yes, we are.
Yeah, because you know, Person County has a reputation of being one of the most racist, counties in the county, in the state of North Carolina. The racial divide there absolutely puts Orange County and even Alamance County to shame. It's mild. It has been historically mild in Orange and Alamance compared to Person. And so, you know, as we go on this journey, I think I'm on your committee, you know, I think we're going to have to, you know, we don't know, you know, you would think that people would want to know, but I think DeSantis and even our own Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, has shown us that we don't need to bring up anything that shows the ugliness of America, of North Carolina, of Person County, of Hillsborough, of Timberlake, of Roxborough. Okay. And so, you know, the hope that it would bring people together, you know, is something that we would love to see happen. But the reality in this climate tells us something altogether different.
Yeah.
But I think that your vision is absolutely 100%. Mm-hmm. And all of that needs to be exposed without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think you need to go ahead and do the research, and since it is going to be uploaded to ProQuest, which means that the world can read it. You know, maybe the mayor of Roxborough, maybe the town council, maybe the Board of Education, you know, and as you interview people too, in that town, in that county, word's going to get around about this little lady who's writing about us. Word's going to be out there. No question about that. All you have to do is go.
I moved to Durham. I moved out of the county.
You know, and as you go to the repositories there, they talk. We had this young lady asking for information about X, Y, and Z. Nobody in the history of the county has ever asked about this. So, you know, you may have already experienced some of that already in the initial phases of the research, but we have to continue, you know, we have to plug along and do it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So we will, you know, your committee will definitely be there to support you.
And Brandy, I think you'll find this interesting. colleague of mine who I trained as a prosecutor went on to work for the AG, and then the Person County DA got in trouble for ethical violations, creating a scheme where he had another person hire his wife. He hired that person's wife, and they never disclosed a conflict, but big mess. Anyway, he was put out of office, and so my friend was appointed by the governor to work there. Before I retired, they asked me to come and sit, and fortunately, I was caring for my mom and I didn't have that much leeway in my schedule to be able to go. But a couple of other new judges from Orange went, and it was awful. So much so that my colleague, former ADA, who, super smart, she refused to run. And, she's Latin, of Latin descent. So that added another dimension of difference. And she has never disclosed to me what all she saw, what all she heard, but the few conversations were, they have a long way to go. And so when it was time for her to run for office, because when you're appointed, then you have to file and run to retain your seat. I called her to see what I could do, because I know a few people in Person County, and she just said, I'm not doing it, and she didn't. And I understand she just went back to the AG's office, which I'm glad she was able to do that. But today in 2023, it is still such a very different place that it takes a different kind of person to want to live there, particularly if you're a minority. A lot of people with last names that are now in Orange County, those names originally come out of Person County. They just cross the county line, refuse to go back.
I just wanted to add on Brandy and to what Beverly was just saying. It struck a chord with me because I saved a quote off Twitter the other day, which really made me stop and think. And it was a quote by Reverend Errol Sharpton, and his point made, and this person who was retweeting what he said, it was a white person saying every white American needs to hear this. And I think it underscores a lot of what you're just talking about. Every time he, meaning Reverend Sharpton, or any of us as African Americans, every time we write our name or say our name, it is not the name of our grandfather or great grandfather. It is the name of the man who owned his great grandfather. So Black America carries slavery on our backs every single day, because the names we would have had we never left Africa are not any of the names that we carry, not any of the names of anybody on this Zoom or our families. These are not our ancestors' names. They're the names of the people that owned us. Yeah. And no other culture can probably say that who is in America today, because they retain their cultural ancestral names.
You're right, Sandra.
And most white people don't get that and understand that. When I was writing Ribbons of Color, we were having a committee meeting and we were talking about slavery and and they someone asked me, says, well, Beverly, what's the origin of your last name? I said, Scarlet comes from the Scarlet Plantation. And they were like, no. Where does it come from? I said, my name would have been Beverly, simply Beverly. I wouldn't have had a last name. Scarlet comes from being owned by the Scarlet sister. So at the end of the Civil War, a Levi becomes a Levi Scarlet. Before that, he was Levi because he was owned by the Scarlet sisters. That's the only way I got this last name. Same for William Whitted in Hillsborough, you know? It's where Whitted comes from.
That's right, Beverly. I tell people all the time when they ask me about my name, Chavius. Oh, that's rich, isn't it? I said, I don't know. It was given to the people who owned my people. That's where I got the name.
That's where it
and
comes
they look
from.
at me real funny.
Well, they don't get it because it's like Sandra said, it's not a part of their culture.
No, it's
and,
not.
You know, right. For our people, that's how many of our folk get mixed up doing genealogy work, research, and not able to complete their family trees because they lose track of names. And if you don't know, you know, the plantation, who owned the plantation, you can't get back there.
That's right. Shank, I think you should, that quote that James Baldwin made on that mask image where he said, African Americans are Africans with no memory and Americans with no privilege. That is worth more than, I can't even put a value. He covered it all right there with that. That's where we are. That's who we are. No memory of our heritage and no privilege in the country that we're in. They're trying to strip us of all of it. Awesome. So ironic that he quoted on that like that.
Well, as always, this is always good. Glad I remember back in March when well, maybe April, when we talked about doing Information Plus Hour. I thought about Gerald and understood that his talent needs to be shown. I mean, to have made 250 masks, the fact that he has no so-called, official training or schooling or going over to Africa and hung out with the brothers over there and the sisters teaching him how to do this. But to come up with this, I was at Gerald's house about 3 weeks ago, and I looked in his living room. He showed me. I looked up at the ceiling. This guy, how many of y'all are familiar with Comfort ceilings? The beautiful Comfort ceilings. Gerald did his own Comfort ceilings. Gerald, I wish you would bring a photograph of that the next time we get together. Gerald, can you hear me?
Yeah, I did, Freddie.
Yeah. I mean, the next time, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I want y'all to see. It's like walking into a brand new home in the dining room or the living room and looking up and saying, "Oh, look at those beautiful Comfort ceilings." I said the same thing. I was in complete awe when I saw it. I don't know how long it took you to do that, Gerald. What, just a few weeks?
I really don't. It's like making a mask. You just do the same process. You have to envision it, and you figure out a way. You figure out a way to do it. I did it by myself, and it's just. Well, Mona's sitting here saying that she helped a little bit. She points very well. I'll just tell you, she's a good pointer. She can point like nobody's business.
You missed this. You missed that.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gerald, did you do it like Michelangelo, or did you do it on the ground and put it up?
You have to put it's a process. So you have to put the wood up to the ceiling by yourself. Figure it all out, and nail it up there, and then you work from there. Once you figure out how you want it to go, how many squares, boxes, kind of thing. And like I said,
did it upside down, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of envision how you want it. You can look online at different Comfort ceilings and figure out what you want, and you go for it. So that's kind of the way I operate. I use them same 6, whatever it is, I'll give it a shot. I may not make it like Martin Luther King said, I may not get there with you. But
I tell you, this is absolutely beautiful, though.
Promised land.
Absolutely.
Well,
So
it sounds like it requires understanding geometry and geometric design.
I think to mostly it's commitment to do it. I really think because you can see how it's done online. Really, you can look on the internet and see how to do it. There are people.
ain't nowhere in the heck though I'm gonna get up in the ceiling and try to do it though. Okay, I can watch about 25 videos, man.
I'm not getting up on a ladder.
No way. And then after that, you got to paint it. You got to, and I looked at the painting job. It was just pristine, absolutely
I
pristine.
appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
I say,
I mean,
give it a
it's
shot.
beautiful, absolutely.
So
But
is
thanks for the
there any
presentation.
piece of wood that you can't see turning into something? When you look at wood, Gerald, do you say, oh, this can become that?
I do. I think anything is possible. That's what I tell kids about themselves. You can do anything you want to. Just follow this formula here and work. You got to put work in though, and that's the thing that a lot of kids don't want to do these days. They don't want to work hard.
No,
They
they
want
don't.
stuff to be given to them, but it ain't gonna work.
Of a
It ain't gonna
platter.
happen.
That's right.
So my dad, I tell people this in tongue in cheek, because I would say we used to sing Negro spirituals because he worked us so hard to try to get through the day. Because we didn't get paid much. We just had to do it, right? You work for a home, his work output paid the bills, kept the lights on, put clothes on your back. What you gonna say? You're gonna do what you got to do. So I learned how to work, and that's the thing I would encourage anybody, any child, or just go out there and work as hard as you can. And if you fail, it wouldn't be for not lack of trying. Just work hard. And just like a lot of people ain't willing to do it. So, and that's one of the things I'll say lastly about the mask. It's not easy to do, in my opinion, to do it the way I do it, because I try to do it in keeping with what I think they did it back, like in African communities. But I'm far away. I'm still learning that how to do what they did. I'm in awe how these artisans that our ancestors produce work that is worthy of any. And by the way, they're all in museums all around the world, not in Africa, but mostly in other places. So people have come to appreciate, like Picasso and some of those people made it popular. But it's very getting more and more expensive to acquire good pieces of art. So.
All right. Any more burning testimonies before we call it an evening? If not, Gerald, we really want to thank you again for your presentation. Absolutely first rate. We need to take this on the road. Definitely take Courtney up on her desire to place this thing in the museum. She said January. And for those of you who want to learn the craft, Sister Scarlett is willing to allow you to come out to the Ponderosa and
well, we know where some wood at.
We know where the trees are, and
that's where the trees are,
and learn that craft. But, we're going to ask Beverly, Scarlett, and Annie Newton and Horace if y'all will stay with us for just a few minutes. Beverly Payne.
Gerald Shanklin, would you write down the museum's telephone number? Because it is 919-732-2201.
All righty, thank you.
That way you got access to Courtney.
Okay.
Okay, y'all, we'll look forward to seeing you on the 15th when Beverly Payne will grace us. Y'all take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye.